Hello and welcome to another Board Crazy review. I am D. I am joined by him.
I am Will Fertitti. That sounds a lot like
It doesn't sound like anything good. I mean, that much. That's Will. We are here to review Imhotep the Duel, which of course we played last week here on the channel.
just you and I.
Yeah. Right, so before we start the review, we're going to run my introduction to the game from our gameplay video. If you haven't watched that yet and you do want to learn how the game is played, so you can skip that if you don't want to watch it, but here that goes. Imhotep the Duel is a game for 2 players designed by Phil Walker Harding and published by Kosmos. In this duel, the 2 players take on the roles of Nefertiti and Akhenaten, the 2 leaders of Egypt, and the goal of the game is to earn more points from your opponent from the 4 monuments that you're tasked with constructing. Each player starts the game with a set of meeples and a board for each of the 4 monuments. Also, all 6 of the boat tokens are placed in their spaces around the harbor, while 3 cargo tokens are placed face up on each boat and then face down on the harbor's reserve space. The remaining cargo tokens are kept face down nearby. Players alternate taking 1 action at a time. 1 action is the place 1 meeple action, which allows a player to place 1 of their meeples on any open harbor space. Once any 1 row or column in the harbor has at least 2 meeples of the same color, then either player may take the unload 1 boat action, which allows the players to take the cargo from the boat of that row or column. When unloading, each meeple takes its corresponding piece of cargo and is then collected by its player. The meeple nearest to the boat takes the piece of cargo that is farthest away, and so on. If there is a piece of cargo remaining after this action, it is simply removed from the game, and then the boat is refilled with new cargo tokens from the draw pile. The players will use the cargo they've collected to build their monuments, which we'll explain as we play. Meanwhile, the final action possible is to use an action token, which can be gained by collecting cargo. These action tokens perform more advanced version of the previous 2 actions, like placing multiple meeples at once or swapping the places of cargo before unloading a boat. Boats are removed from the game once the cargo supply is emptied and they can no longer be refilled. The game immediately comes to an end once the second to last boat is removed from the game, and then the players tally up their scores from their monuments, their remaining action tokens, and remaining meeples they have left on the harbor, and as ever, the player with the most points wins the game. Okay, so, Will.
Yes.
Imhotep.
Yeah.
The Duel. It's a duel.
Is it?
101!
Oh, that's what duel means.
20 paces.
Aha.
Turn and fire. So, let's talk about this game, Will. This is, I guess, a spin-off of Imhotep, is it fair to say?
It's not at all really just like a smaller version of its bigger counterpart, but it's in the same family.
Same designer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my main complaint about this game. Boom, we're going to start with that.
Starting with that.
Where's Arnold Vosloo? Okay.
I mean,
if the game's called Imhotep, but there's no mummy.
I feel like the rights for his image are probably very expensive.
Ah, okay. You know, then I retract that. I didn't consider how,
He's in high
expensive and in high demand Arnold Vosloo is.
He's like the Beatles.
Let's talk about Imhotep, D. So what do you want? You usually have an idea where to start.
That's what the gameplay.
All right.
It's I think it's a pretty fun little game of tactics. I feel like it's a nice little challenge. It's not a complicated game.
No,
it can be difficult to play well. I feel like it's fair to say.
Yeah, I would hesitate to call it a worker placement game because you are placing workers. The reason I say that is this game's a part of Kosmos' 2-player series, and another game we played, it's over here, called Targi, was also in that series.
Very similar in some ways.
In some ways, but that game I feel like is more of a true worker placement, where you're placing your workers actually gives you actions, whereas in like this game, placing workers is just like a means to an end to like lay claim to tiles. It's more of like a point salad game. This is just find ways to get as many victory points as you can.
Well, there's also a press your luck aspect to it in terms of when to play another meeple and when to,
unload a boat.
Yeah, unload.
Yeah,
and it feels very. It's tough to choose one or the other. Like if you feel like you might be wasting a turn if you unload too early and perhaps not getting the full benefits of a boat, but there are also times where it will maybe necessary to prevent your opponent from taking something you want or unloading a meeple in another way that you you don't want them to. So it's just going to prolong how long it takes you to get the thing you actually want.
Yeah, my favorite thing about the game is that you can, and it's very clear in the rulebook, that you can unload any boat as long as there's 2 meeples in that row or column.
It's not that clear.
It's clear to me. It wasn't clear to him because he's not great at reading rules.
I'm great at reading rules.
You should be better considering it's your job.
Look at the diagrams, perhaps.
No, I read everything.
Read the words.
And I love that you can do that because it's so much fun to have no meeples in a column or row and still activate it.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because you can see, like, sometimes someone's like, they're trying to go for that last token, that last cargo token in a column or row, but in order to do that, they need to fill up the spots, and they've got 2 on there, and on their next turn, they're going to put that last one on there, so you can just... That's one way you can mess with them, is just say, you know what, we're going to unload that row that you're building on. Now you don't get that token. And then the worst part about that is that cargo token you want, if you don't claim it when its boat's unloaded, it's just discarded from the game.
Yeah, and also it's just, it can be a good way to mess with your opponent. You might have a situation where you can unload a boat that only they will be getting cargo from, but it may be not what they wanted.
Exactly.
Maybe a different row or column than they were aiming for.
Yeah, I was going to say that you can also do that, where it's like they might be aiming at a specific row, but you notice that there's 2 people in like a column, and that if you activate that, you'll be taking one of the people they want out of that row. It's just it's a really, really good mechanic for 2 players. Because it's sometimes, with 2-player games, there needs to be player interaction, in my opinion. It can't just be...
Yeah, it helps.
I wouldn't call this a Euro... I wouldn't call this... I've seen some people call this a 2-player Euro. And in some ways it is. Because in essence, you're building your own victory points. You're not sharing anything. It is a competition. But, like, there's so much interaction in this game. It feels more American.
You're sharing the board at all times. There's no, like, personal... there's personal stuff, but it's not... I don't know. Yeah, whatever. It's not really important.
I'm just saying it wouldn't appeal to, like, if you're coming into this thing, it's going to be more of a Euro. It has Euro elements, but it also has American elements, and then, like, that ability to directly sabotage, like, look at what your opponent's doing and being like, I know what they're trying to go for, and I'm just going to focus on hurting them.
Well, the game designer is Australian, so I guess.
Yeah, right in between. So, like, you got in a bit.
That's how it works.
Sometimes point salad games annoy me, but this one, I was able to overlook some of the things about, like, just, like, going after points constantly that I don't like because of that ability to, like, just go after your opponent. It reminds me a bit of Target, too. In Target, you could do that. In Target, you could deprive your opponents of what they want. And same thing in this game.
I feel like we played a few games now that have this sort of, like, row and column system. And I feel like it always is entertaining.
Yes.
I don't know if it's maybe just that it's a coincidence all these games just happen to be good, or I don't know. Maybe it's just something satisfying about the way, like, I don't know, the way you can approach things more than one way at once, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun between this and Targi was similar. Cat Lady, which we just played, has a similar sort of thing going on with rows and columns.
Yeah, I would say the gameplay, I would say it's good, it's not great. It's a little streamlined for me. And that's crazy because I like easy games. But to me it felt like for the most part you're just drawing tokens that give you points somehow. Sure. And it's like you could say, like, oh, well, they give you so many different ways to score, but really it's like just get more of them and you're good to go. It's not so much like a...
Well, yeah.
It's not so much like you... Okay. Maybe with the tomb you'd collect sets, of consecutive numbers, but that's really the only one where you're actually, like, being challenged to, like, collect different ones to get more points.
Yeah, okay.
Like, this game is just... You're just collecting a lot of...
Well, I wasn't going to cover this yet, but I guess we're doing that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of my criticisms of the game is the scoring system. This isn't a thematically deep game or rich game at all.
No.
I would say it's pretty thin, but I do think the different monuments are a pretty clever use of the theme. You know, how you're building pyramids and the tombs and everything. It's just. But yeah, as far as the actual, like, strategy of those different things, there's almost none.
No.
Like you said, it is generally just get the most and you win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit more to it than that. Obviously, yeah, like you were saying, you want to collect sets or something like that. But yeah, for the most part, there's not as much thinking going on for that as you'd probably like.
I will say though that the tomb I brought it up earlier is the most entertaining of them it's so satisfying to see like your opponent has 8, 9, 11, 12, and they're going for 10. 10 comes out, and now you have there's this moment of clarity where it's like, if I don't stop them from getting that one that they need to complete their set of 5, like this could be the amount of point, like the point difference that they need to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you can split those 2 sets up and keep them from getting that, it's really, really satisfying. Now you don't need to do that to win. I'm just saying that's what makes a tomb so exciting. Is it's real easy to tell how well you're doing in it and how well your opponents are, and what you need to do to, even it up.
No, yeah, I agree. It's definitely the best of the 4, but that's damning with faint praise.
Okay, so the B-sides, D, though, they do give you, I guess you could say it makes the game a little bit more complex, and you can mix and match as long as everyone has the same setup.
Yeah.
So, like the obelisk can go from just being 1 point per to first to have 5 gets 12, second to have 5 gets 6, stuff like that. And it makes the scoring, I would say, a bit more competitive. And I think they threw that in this game just to add a little bit more replayability. I think they probably realized it get a little stale if you always use the A side, so...
Special action tokens.
Yeah.
How do you feel about them? I feel like I personally felt like there was maybe a few too many.
Maybe there are too many. I actually liked that they were included.
I'm glad they're definitely good that they're included. That keeps things from being entirely the same.
It's a welcoming it's a wrench into the works that I welcome. Like it does. I agree with you though that like there may be a few too many of them, and they all come out during the game because that's how this game works. You see every single one. It can definitely create some imbalances if a certain opponent maybe gets too many. Place 2 to 3 meeples at a time, or too many ones that just allow you to claim any token on the board. Like they're all very powerful and all useful. I agree, but sure. I think you could make an argument that they come out so frequently that sometimes it feels like it's affecting the game too much.
One fewer per type would probably have been a bit better. Do you want anything else you want to cover?
Just the components.
We can talk about them. I mean, it's whatever. It's fine.
Cosmos makes really fun games, but I feel like sometimes the artwork sometimes feels like it goes by the wayside. And maybe I think they're a company that figured out that like gameplay is more important than just like slapping on pretty artwork and then selling it as like a deep game where it's really, because I think sometimes games use like components and attractive art to distract you from the gameplay and how mediocre it is. And Cosmos 2-player series games, they don't look great.
Yeah,
but at the same time, though, like they look just good enough, and it definitely and the gameplay is solid, so it doesn't necessarily feel like you need great components.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like Targi was a bit better.
I think this game looks a bit better than Targi. I thought Targi looked a bit bland.
Well, that's the thing; they're both kind of similar setting, like Northern Africa.
Yeah,
I mean, they're kind, just kind of like sandy colors.
Well, this game has like blues and greens and yellows and
like
reds.
Little
that game was basically just like browns and beige.
Well, in the desert.
Everything's passable, but if you're looking for a beautiful game and you see this game set in Egypt and you expect it to be... This isn't
going to be a game that anyone buys because of how it looks.
Yeah, it's not...
That's fine.
Not necessarily immersive in that regard.
Nah. Final thoughts.
So you give stars out of 5.
Yes.
I think I know what you're going to give this one.
Oh, do you?
I'm going to guess it, actually. And then you can guess my grade.
Okay. I actually think I like this game maybe more than you do. I'll gladly recommend this game. I think it's a really fun 2-player game. It's easy to learn, plays pretty quick. It's a good game. I will recommend it. I will give it 4 stars out of 5.
My guess was 3.5.
I know it was. Because that's what I often give games.
Similar thoughts. It's good. It's not great. It's got passable components and artwork. I do enjoy the ability, like the amount of ability, like the amount of opportunity you have in this game to mess with your opponent. In a one-on-one game, I think that's definitely necessary, and they nailed that part. Though, unfortunately, the rest of the gameplay, as I said earlier, is just kind of collecting stuff to score points, so it's not that engaging. So I'm going to give it a B-. It's a solid game, though, and I think you could do a lot worse in any tabletop game, but in 2-player games as well.
Like a straight-up 2-player-only game?
Yes, and so far we've had great experiences with Cosmos' 2-player games, so.
that was our review for Imhotep the Duel. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can, of course, do all the normal call to action stuff like subscribe, comment, share, hit the notification bell. Yeah.
Social media links are down below, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Oh, that's right. Look at Will stepping up. Today's Wednesday, if you're watching this live. So you can come back in a couple days. Friday, we will have our next gameplay video. Once again, it will just be Will and I, unfortunately, Graham.
Is this live? You said if you're watching this live.
We're streaming this.
Oh.
On Instagram, in fact.
Okay.
Instagram Live. Where was I? Oh, yeah, come back Friday with Will and I will be back again without Graham. He'll be returning eventually, probably.
Whenever they drop the charges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be super spies or something.
Yeah, clever spies.
Yeah.
Loquacious individuals. I don't know, I'm just talking out my butt. D, can we just go? Let's just go.
I keep going, Will.
Thank you for watching, everyone.
Bye.